What's up, party people? This is Rio here, and I am showing you the PlayStation 1 memory card that I posted up recently. I thought I'd do a little breakdown video showing just how I created the mesh, the glass kind of like shader, as well as like setting up this kind of realistic scene in Blender. So you can see here, this is the scene in Blender. This is the full animation. You can see that I can just kind of play it here. It's 180 frames rotating. I can do different cameras here, and you can see that the other camera is basically the other perspective that you were getting as well. So they're all just one file here. But I thought I'd go over just like how I created this mesh here and stuff, because it was kind of an interesting process, and I thought I'd share just like my journey throughout it and stuff. So to kind of show you all just what I was kind of doing here. The process was kind of like this. This is a fresh file because I thought I'd just go over it like completely fresh. But I laid down some reference images. I did a bottom, top, side, all that stuff. But this is kind of all we need right now. And then I laid down, my first instinct was to create an SVG shape in Figma or Illustrator, import that as an SVG, and then use that to extrude and start doing my stuff. That didn't work as well as I wanted it to, because it didn't get me the kind of shapes and topology that I was looking for when I extruded and stuff. So I wanted to just approach it kind of manually to be able to have better control over it. So that process was pretty much kind of like this. You just make a plane, you throw down all the vertices in the right places on top of the reference images that you have. You're going to have reference images where things are kind of not exactly maybe lined up like how you need, but you kind of just go with the flow because all these images are off of eBay. And then once the image is kind of lined up here, you just take the edges and you bevel them in. But specifically, you want to bevel in the edges differently, because if we look at the image, you can see that the bottom bevels are much larger than the top bevels. So basically here we can bevel and make some rounded corners. We want to do it by vertice because we're selecting only vertices here and we're not selecting like edges to bevel. And then here we can kind of like work with like kind of like different settings and stuff to kind of get the roundness that we're looking for. But with this one specifically, we actually just want this bevel because if you can see here, it's kind of like a harder edge than more of a rounded corner. So we'll kind of stick with this for now. And then we can take these and kind of like pull them out, and then take this and also pull it out. You'll also notice that I didn't do like a mirror modifier or anything like that to create this model. You maybe could, because I think it's fairly like uniform on both sides, but I think there's some parts that slightly differ, so I just made it like this, but you know, to each their own. Then the bottom, you bevel the same way, bevel it. Vertices. This one we're going to want like way more. And this you can basically just line it up to the corners where the rounded edges start. And then you just add however many kind of vertices you need to round it out. You can kind of see that the memory card has some edges that come in. And with these edges, we just basically want to come in and use the slice tool here. But because of our bad topology, technically, it's not going to want to let us do that. So what I did initially, I think, was basically just apply a cut here. Let's zoom in a little bit and get this going. You can basically cut here to add some uniformity. Want to merge these. Let's merge vertices at the center. Who cares? Actually, let's be smarter about that. Merge it where the first homie was. All right. So now that we've done this, and I think maybe if I cut it up here as well, bam, something like that. We'll also merge these at the first. Cool. Now I should be able to do something like this. Yes. So this is basically what I did. I used the, what is it called? The loop cut to come in and create a cut here. But let's be smart about it, because we know that we have 1, 2, 3, 4 ridges here. But we need to be able to create also not ridges, but highs, mountains to the valleys. So we're going to need not only these 4, but we'll also need 4 more cuts to pull out. So minimally we'll need 8 loop cuts here. So we can do the loop cut tool, set it to 8. And then with these 8, don't touch that. We can pull over our scale tool, bring them down a little bit, and try to line them up with the edges here. We want to take these middle ones and scale them in equally. And that creates our edges. And now we have like a really low poly version of that kind of setup. So from here, I basically took each of these edges and I beveled them again. And I used kind of like a smaller width, and I used 3 edges to kind of create a smoother edge so that we can just not have that kind of jaggediness going on. And that worked really well. And you can do the same for the top as well, where you can just bevel these 2. That's fine. But yeah, you get the idea. And that creates that kind of clean model for you. And you can see that the shape basically follows the memory card now. Now from here, you can basically just take the entire polygon like topology and just extrude it up. And I use the extrude tool. But yeah, just bring it up. I had a side view, so I'd be able to tell like how much I needed to bring it up. But you know, you get the idea. And then from here, you'd basically take all the edges. I am shift double clicking the edge just to kind of like grab any connecting edges. But sometimes because my topology isn't the best, it doesn't work fully around. So you have to kind of coax it with a couple more shift clicks. But we basically have that. Now we can bevel it. And you can see that we get like a nice little bevel for the side. And you can just add like a few more subdivisions there to make it smoother. And that's basically how we kind of got the base model going for the mesh. Just that base shape. And then for things like the screws, this one, there's a lot of ways to do circles and like circle cuts within things. You could do the Boolean modifier, and you could just do that to keep your life simple. If you want to make your life difficult, you could do it manually like I do it, or you can do the loop cut tool. But basically, I'm going to show you my method for madness. But your goal here is to basically come in with the knife tool and basically create a container for your circle. So wherever the shape is, this circle shape here, I want to be able to take it and be able to have a perfect square around it. So we're going to want to cut all these like this. Like I said, this topology won't be the best. We'll have to like extend it out. This is maybe where the mirror modifier would help, so you wouldn't have to duplicate this kind of effort on the other side. Just do that. Set it in. Then we have a kind of like square around our circle here. So from here, we want to subdivide this a couple times. So let's actually take the loop cut tool. Nope, that will not work. Let's just cut it. And you just cut it. Again, don't look at my topology. Who's looking at this topology? Who's looking? Don't look. Center that a little bit. So your goal is to get like a square here that contains the circle, and then split that into a 2x2 grid. And then from there, you're going to select the middle vertice, bevel that, and that'll give you your circle. You increase the width so that you actually have like a full width circle. You add some segments, obviously, to make it like, you know, more shapely. And then here you can control the shape. So this is where you'll get the circle that you want. So you can just bring it out and you get your circle. And you can kind of like control how close it is. So yeah, it's like a little more circular instead of like ovular and pressing up against the edges. But yeah, circle, boom. And with that circle, you can basically now just take it and grab the extrude tool again. Oh, now it decides to work. And we want to come around the side here and just bring it down. And then with these edges as well, bevel them. But now you can just bevel this. Whoa. Now you can just bevel this edge here so that you get a much cleaner cut inside of your. And then for the screw, you basically just take the polygons that you created in the middle part. Actually, the smartest way, this is the way you do it. You go like this. Bam. Now you have the polygons, you can grab them. I copied them, and then we can go pull into another object. We hide this one. We go into edit mode on this one. Oh, I didn't save my selection. What's up with that? Whatever, doesn't matter. You can just select it again. You can see that's my circle. We invert the selection. Delete the vertices. Bam, you have your screw top. Or like a screw that'll cover the exact hole that you need. So now if I go back into object mode, we select the screw versus the case. And if we bring our origin to the geometry, we'll be able to see it. And you just move it up and down. And you take all this, you extrude it. Ideally, if you wanted it to be the perfect circle, you can also use a circle mesh. And you can bring in those vertices into your mesh and kind of merge them as well, so you get a perfect circle. Or you can use a loop cut tool, which is, I think, a little more like exacting with the circles. So that's kind of it for like the mesh itself. Obviously, there's like other modeling things, like you can see here. I'll show you it from the side. I made all the different screws, and then I came up on the top and I brought in the plugs for the actual like board itself. I made sure to model some key components. There's a lot of the stuff, the text and things like that, that'll be embedded into the glass itself using a bump map. But then there are some aspects like the screws and the triangle that I really wanted to make as real topology, so it really shined with the glass a little better. So you can see the memory card itself, I have it contained inside of this empty because it's actually multiple different components here that I have. I have the case itself, which is the outer shell. And then if we remove that, you can see that I have an inner kind of like motherboard mesh, as well as a couple of different screws that you can see visible in the back. The motherboard mesh was basically just an SVG shape that I went and I found the real motherboard, and I just traced a shape in Illustrator, pulled that into Blender, extruded it, and basically applied the image as a bump map, albedo, and all that. The magic is in the remesh. So I took the SVG shape and I extruded it and all that, but then I went and I used the remesh modifier and I baked it inside. So I think I have a previous version, maybe in another file with it like there, but I have the remesh applied here and baked in. And then with this applied, you can see here, I was able to come in and pull out various aspects of the card to kind of create more of a relief and a greater kind of like bump map kind of effect without having to use a bump map. And also having to make the bump map and make it like as accurate as possible. And this was really nice because if you come into this mode, you can see with Blender, and once you apply the texture, you're able to see the motherboard as I'm working with the vertices. So I was able to simply just go and just grab pieces of the motherboard kind of like this, and then just pull them out as I needed. And that's literally just how I made the motherboard. I just went manually and just pulled out each of these little like arms and stuff. And I think it really helped create a little more like depth when the PS1 card turns to the side and you see like the little chip kind of stick out and things like that. And like I said, it was much easier than having to actually come in and make a normal map for this. The time it took to actually pull this out, as intensive as it seems, much easier than coming in and having to repaint something in Photoshop. So highly recommended. Remesh.